Hi and welcome to Bedrock's first session of 2021. What a year to start on. I want to start by saying you're all doing fantastically. We're really excited to share our new approach to analysing pupil and parent engagement, which is more important than ever. Now, our new approach is a paradigm shift just to ensure that teachers are empowered by the data generated on Bedrock. You'll notice we've broken it into 3 buckets of learners. You'll notice there's praise, encourage and intervene, so that all students are being recognised for all the hard work they're doing week in, week out. And you'll notice that actually the way that we've done this is to encompass all of our new schemes of learning. So if students are doing quizzes on the new GCSE schemes of learning or activities on that, they're going to be recognised and praised for that. So it's a point system that gathers all of the activity on Bedrock so that we're recognising that. So basically, as we're going on this year, we want to make sure that we are recognising students for their hard work and keep students learning whatever happens. As we've all learned, anything can happen. You have all been inspirational in how many of you are juggling in-class demands with remote learning all at the same time. Some of you, parents on the side, so on top of your planning and marking, and as ever we're here to make your lives easier. So and I do want to recognize all those parents at home with all numbers of children with their range of needs that need to be met as well, so we want to help you with that. Now, taking in all that recent research on gaps, we know where we stand at the moment, and we know that actually if this is going to continue and taking into account 2020 last year, we need to be making sure that those gaps don't get any wider, and that we are putting in a strategy. So it's been recommended that schools don't just take one singular approach, and we help with that diagnostic side as well as parent engagement on Bedrock, and ensuring students are reading high quality non-fiction and fiction texts, as you know, and working through a range of topics across curricula. So I didn't actually introduce Camilla and James. Apologies, I just dove straight in there. I am really conscious of time, and I know that you guys are time short, so that's why I raced forward. But Camilla will be talking you through all of the the data coaching on our new point system. And you've got James there who's already fielding lots and lots of comments, so thank you, James. If there are any questions that come up and we're not able to answer them at the end during the question time, we will be following up with an email. So rest assured you will get a copy of this PowerPoint, and you'll get any sort of follow-up resources as well that we can provide. So in terms of student engagement and motivation at the moment, it's crucial. Often when they're in school, we have praise and sanction systems that can sweep those students up and make sure that they are getting on Bedrock and really engaging. But now we've got to really tap into that cognitive engagement as well as their emotional engagement. The way that students are appropriately pitched at Bedrock means that that's really motivating in itself, and then also making the most of those inbuilt motivations that we have. So we're going to go over that as well. I've just chosen, just before Camilla shows you it in action, which is what you're all here for, I just wanted to touch on the Education Endowment Fund's research on how to work well with parents and get them really engaged. Now, this was written in 2018, but it's more important than ever. The recent report and review done by the Education Endowment Fund on school closures is also worth a read, and they very much push an outward-facing strategy. But we help with all of these things. So encouraging students to have that regular routine with Bedrock, encouraging good habits, enabling them to set goals and put in time. And we empower you as teachers to have those conversations about teaching and learning using that parent engagement, and making sure conversations are really positive and encouraging for all. Right, I'm going to hand over to Camilla, who's going to talk you through our new point system: praise, encourage and intervene. Thank you.
Hi everyone, thank you Alex. Lovely to speak to you all. So as Alex has already touched on, we have developed a new approach to recognise students' engagement via a points system. So Bedrock has always had a focus on completing 2 lessons a week as the optimum level of engagement. Whilst that is still important to ensure regular learning and we want to maintain those expectations, we are aware that there are opportunities on Bedrock for students to complete lots of other activities. So we have developed our reporting to acknowledge not just lessons, but also, as Alex mentioned, quizzes, so pre-tests, post-tests, recapping, memory checking, and even just starting a lesson. And so that will allow you to praise, encourage, and intervene across all levels of engagement. And these 3 action points, as Alex highlighted, are crucial to encouraging, or well, to ensuring a good implementation. So you may have seen already actually on your dashboard some additional reports have been added, and we have started to phase in the new points logic, and this will fully take effect after February half term. So you can still keep using the existing reports that we have there, but you will notice the additional ones have actually already been added, and you can start to use them. And today I will go over exactly how to and what to expect from them. So you will already, all of you, I'm sure, be familiar with the weekly progress review emails that you get in your inbox every week and the activity reports on your dashboard. And so that logic will take place for those reports from the February half term point onwards. And the number of points a student earns in a week will be reflected by those colour faces. So what I've got on the screen here is a breakdown of our coloured faces. So you'll probably recognise green, amber, red, and we've now got a new grey to add to that too. And don't worry, I will go on to explain what each number of points allocated to an activity is in a moment. But here is what you'll expect to see from the weekly reporting. So we've sort of got the goal of 20 points a week to be in the green smiley face. So this is something where you would then praise because they've hit those targets, really good usage. You then have amber. So again, still good progress is being made and you want to be encouraging the students to keep on track and do a little bit more. You then have the red. So intervening here is what is needed to encourage them to do more. And then we have got the grey face now, which is no points, and this is just showing that they've not actually even logged in or done, any lessons. So I'm just going to go to our next slide, which is a snapshot of the weekly email and the activity report. So it still very much looks similar, but we have got the added column of the points that will tally up as the week goes on. You'll still see all the activity that the students are doing, so the lessons, dates, times, their results. So if I just then go on to explain what each points mean and how we allocate them. So I've got a breakdown here, and don't worry, there will be places for you to find this. You don't have to worry about remembering what each point means. So the goal, as I mentioned a second ago, is to achieve 20 points a week. And this can be achieved in a number of ways. So a pre-test or a post-test is worth 5 points. We now have points for, as I mentioned, starting a lesson. So they would be given 2 points. When a lesson is completed and passed, they'll be given 8 points. For completing a lesson but not passing the lesson, that'd be 3 points. Just a reminder there that to pass a lesson and have it marked as fully completed to move on is 60%. We will now allocate points for when words have been learnt, when they have remembered words, for recapping a word, and we have got some nice generous points as well for when they complete a whole block. So we've got a nice big 30 points there, and then also half a block will be 15 points. So as you can see, there is lots and lots of activity that the students can be doing to build those points up each week, and it doesn't just have to be lessons only.
Can I just
Yes,
there are
Alex.
quite a few questions coming through on the chat. If possible, could you put them on the questions tab, and then at the very end we can address them all, or as many as we possibly can. Thank you.
All right. So that sort of covers the points logic initially, and how that will feed into your weekly emails that you see in your inboxes, and then also when you go onto your dashboard for activity as well. We now also have got, I'm just going to go over to our teacher dashboard. So additionally to looking at the weekly review and the activity report, we have also created a new engagement analysis report, which is just found here. So I've just gone into the school report section, and at the bottom, we have the engagement analysis report. So this is very much built upon the lesson completion report. So this is still here for you at the moment. You can still use it, but we have taken a lot of feedback and built upon that report, which is really well known to you and is what you use to track your usage currently. So let's have a dive in. So one of the key benefits from this new engagement analysis report is that you can actually set the day that you want the report to run from. Whereas with the lesson completion report, it ran Monday to Sunday. You can now choose any day of the week that you would like to set this report to start from. So all you would do initially is go to settings, and here is where you choose the day. So you can choose any day of the week all the way through Monday to Sunday. So you could choose Wednesday and set the day there. And then your calendar will allow you to input some dates. And as you'll see, all the other days that you've not selected are faded out. So you can only choose to start from Wednesdays. And you, as before, can look at any length of time period. You can go back a couple of weeks, a month, a half term, whatever you wish, and run it to today. Something to note about this report is that it should be downloaded rather than viewing on the dashboard. Now you can view on the dashboard, but ideally you'll be wanting to download this by clicking this download button here, and that will give you this report. It will convert to an Excel file. So that is probably what you would like to do. So you just put the dates in and hit download straight away. And I will show you what that looks like for what I've already prepared. So this is what it would look like on your dashboard if you didn't download it. So you can still get information, but especially if you're looking long term, you will really want it in an Excel format. So now we have our data, and we can action from this by praising, encouraging, and intervening. So this will look quite similar to the lesson completion report. And you can see each week we have allocated points and also totaled the points up for you as well. We have also carried over the colour blocking, so you can recognise your green for praising, your amber for encouraging, and your red for intervening. This would also allow you to actually do some filtering in Excel, so you can then action from this centrally if you'd like. I know we have a lot of schools that action sort of praising and sanctioning centrally. So you can use this for the whole school and just filter to those that have achieved a praise, and then also those that you need to intervene with. So really actionable data there and very transparent as well. We have added some additional really useful information. So you can see the last dates that the students logged on. You will also be able to see when they have, or if they have, completed the alpha test. And this will really help looking from a lead perspective, not just a class perspective, to see how the school implementation is going. Now, when I have touched on that we total up the points for you, I will just mention that it's a very similar calculation to the lesson completion report, in the sense of as mentioned, the target per week is really to get to 20 points. So it's really 20 times the number of weeks you've inserted into the calendar will be what gets the students to the category of praising, and the other buckets will also then follow the points that we mentioned as well. So if we move on another step, we have also carried out the points logic over to our monthly usage reporting as well. So every month you receive a automated usage report from us. It's the first Tuesday of every month. And with that report, you receive a chart, and it will now look like this. So we have again carried over the colour blocking and the key at the bottom as well, just to give you some info on what each points target means. And you'll be able to see the classes for then which number or percentage of students in the class have hit each target. And then also as a whole cohort, you can see the percentage of the school that are either at praise, encourage, or intervene. So that will be what the chart will start to look like for you from the February half-term period. And then here is what the email body will look like. So very similar, but you'll just notice the usage of the school will have those three categories as well. So praise, courage, and intervene. So we have carried that over to the body of the email as well. And then additionally, some of you, if not all of you, will be aware that we produce impact analysis reports for you on a once or twice a year basis. And there is a section of the impact analysis report which has a focus on usage over a set date range. And we have applied the logic here as well. So it's clearly broken down for you to see the percentage of the cohort that has achieved points of praise, encouragement, and intervention. So that really is where the points logic has been developed across our reporting, and it really will help you praise lots of students and come up with lots of different incentives to take it further, and would hopefully, especially in light of what's going on, be really encouraging for students too. But now back over to Alex to just touch on parents.
Yes, thank you very much, Camilla. So I will go back on all the creative ways teachers have implemented and used, their praise, encourage, and intervene tips over lockdown, should we say, because we've got a poster that will be shared with you after this that will talk you through things that you can do. So parent engagement, if you haven't already seen it yet on your teacher dashboard, it is invaluable during this time. It was actually designed sort of out of the last lockdown, and also in light of some research I did on parent engagement for my master's. So it's all the rage these days, because obviously we really need that engagement to make sure students are working through Bedrock, are benefiting, making that progress, and learning those tricky tier 2 words whilst broadening their cultural capital. So you can see here, if you go into the dashboard, you click on parent engagement, it will come up with this really useful pie chart, and you'll see on the side you actually will have individual parents listed and whether or not they're linked. Now, if that's not clear enough for you, so this gives you a nice overview, right? I can see, yes, a nice third of my parents are engaged, but really I want that entire circle to be orange. I want all of my parents to be engaged. I want all of them to be logging in, seeing their child's knowledge organizer, seeing the words that they're learning, using them around the house, having those conversations, because really we want this as a springboard to improving oracy as well as reading and writing. So if that's not clear enough, then you can download, as with all of our reports, you can download it by pressing that download button at the top there with the arrow. I've had to block out quite a lot of data here, just, you know, for data protection. So, but you can see from the column titles at the top that you can easily, again, download this into a manipulative file, put it on the shared staff drive. When tutors are calling up parents, this can really drive a teaching and learning conversation. How much is your child reading? Are they getting onto Bedrock? Oh, okay, let's get you that linked access code. And the access code is just there in front of them. And it's so easy, as you've probably seen, on the login interface to click on and for them to sign in and be able to get really involved in their child's learning. And, you know, at this time, it also gives a lot of parents who are working remotely at home a little bit of quiet time as their child is working independently, which is what we all need. But, you know, key stage 2 all the way to key stage 5, imagine you've got, you know, children from all different age groups, and they're all quietly working on Bedrock. One of the account managers today said you could almost sort of put an hour aside each day during lockdown to have a Bedrock blanket time. And I thought, oh, that's fantastic. You know, a little bit of peace and quiet in the house is what we all need at the moment. But yes, so the main takeaway is, you know, our really, you know, the paradigm shift. You'll notice they're all verbs. You know, the data that is generating on Bedrock is actionable data. We want to be actioning it. We want to be making sure that those students that are completing Bedrock consistently, working really hard through lockdown, are kept motivated through that praise. Lots of schools are using social media. You know, some schools have a vibrant Facebook page and they'll post competitions and, you know, how students are getting on there. Lots of schools using Twitter, Instagram even. So we've had to get really creative during this time. And I've been so impressed by people's initiative and innovation. And equally, those students that, you know, are getting on with their Bedrock, but maybe could do a little bit more, we need to encourage them. It might be a case of, right, they need to, it's actually very insightful for teachers using Bedrock, because you can see those that might need a bit of help with their Wi-Fi access, might need to use those free laptops that are being offered by the government. So it gives you a really clear picture of what is going on at home, which is what we need right now. So, you know, coming in with that encourage, it might be that we need to equip tutors with suggestions. Do their children have a game console that they can put Bedrock on as the homepage? Do they have a smartphone whilst their other sibling is using the one laptop at home? Do they have an iPad that they can use? So Bedrock is, you know, really useful on all of those devices with Wi-Fi and can be accessed at any time. And then that intervening, if we have students that you know, you're unable to see using Bedrock, well, you can see they're not using it, you need to start intervening. So that's where that conversation with the parent is really powerful, particularly as they also get emails as a nudge each week, just to say, look, have they got this done? Because we know during lockdown, weeks can roll by and things haven't got done. So we need to just make sure that everyone is engaged and we keep learning with Bedrock at this time, whatever happens. Now we are doing quite well for time. And I've seen there's lots of questions. So thankfully we should have a bit of time for the questions. Before we get onto the questions, just want to remind you all that if you recommend Bedrock to a school, you get £250. Lots of schools are using that to incentivize their students further, using them as vouchers. So that's a really good way to increase motivation and get other students across the UK and across the world learning on Bedrock and closing those gaps. That subsequent school will also, when it comes to your renewal, Camilla, you need to sort of step in here because you're dealing with these every day. But am I right in saying they get their 10%?
So when an existing school refers a new school, the new school would be entitled to 10% off their invoice, and the existing school that is renewing, they would be able to have £250 off their renewal. So it will really help those schools that are looking to use Bedrock long term and continue to renew each year. And also for any new schools that are looking to come on, it will help them initially with some discount too. And so it seems to be a really popular incentive, because I know, all schools sort of have a really good community in certain areas and all communicate. So if you know a school that would like to use Bedrock, definitely sort of get us in touch, and we can then offer honour the referral discount for you and give them an initial 10%.
Yeah, no, that sounds brilliant. And I know a lot of the teaching school and alliances and trusts have also made the most of that. Equally, you'll have noticed on social media that Aaron Leary has put aside £1,000 as a prize draw for students that are consistently completing Bedrock. So they're doing that 2 lessons a week, reaching that 20 points on the new point system or more. But we're looking for consistency, aren't we, Camilla, for this one?
Yep, so consistency. So the points logic is coming in after February half term. And then, so with this prize draw specifically, consistently doing their 2 lessons a week, there is a banner on the application. So students are aware of what they could be winning. But it will always help if you guys are able to push that as well, just to get that boost of motivation going too.
Yeah, it's really great. We've had a number of students contacting about that, haven't we?
Yeah, they're keen.
Yeah, it's generated a bit of an interest and excitement. Right, questions. I'm going to go over to the question tab. So apologies if your question's in chat, but I'm just going to have a look at the questions tab first and then come over to chat. There are a number, and hopefully we can field a couple before we wrap this up. So a teacher in the chat mentioned EAL students having trouble with metaphor. Okay, so in terms of the metaphor, it's more imaginative, creative writing, and it really is that higher order thinking. We've noticed that students have to go through a number of them to get that format of the metaphor before they're going into writing their free sentences. But again, we love sharing top tips. So any other teachers that have got some top tips on that, that would be great.
I just noticed there might be some confusion from Katie Vince. So the points logic is coming into play in February. The prize draw that's happening this term currently is based on the 2 lesson a week consistency that we've always been having that focus on. So don't worry about confusing the students or the staff.
Yep, that was my I'll put my hands up for that.
The points is to look at after half term.
Yeah. So how do we sign students up? Parents up. Really, really crucial question. When you go into the app, you can see parents, guardians, or teacher. They click on that tab. It's a really, really clear instructions from there, and you will have on your dashboard their linked access code that you can share with them.
I think there's also been some questions about additional blocks and drip feed. So I'm not sure if everyone's aware, you probably are, but we released block 12 in October. So that's the latest block. So it's likely that if your students are whizzing through content in lockdown, they will be moving on to the higher levels. But the drip feed setting is currently 2 lessons per day. That was also fairly new last term. That changed, so they can do 2 lessons a day, maximum of 14 lessons a week. So we've got some control of spaced learning, but there's a lot of flexibility there. And, they won't be experiencing any cognitive overload as well. So hopefully that answers the question for both blocks and drip feed.
Yeah, there's been block 12 been really well received, and it's closing those curriculum gaps as well. Here we go. Is there a way to require all students to complete an alpha test at the start? Again, Camilla.
So the alpha test is taken when students first ever use Bedrock. That gives them their starting block. And from there, as they work through the curriculum, When they complete that block, they'll automatically get assigned to the next block higher. But within that, if through the assessments they start to find the level too easy or too difficult, we do have a bump up and down logic, which will move them to a higher or lower level. So it means that they'll never have to retake the alpha test, because we have that recognition there of, are they still doing well on this level, or do they need to be moved? And it's all linear, so they'll just continue to the next block after they've finished their current level. So the alpha test is really just for any brand new students that are using Bedrock, and it will be greeted to them when they log into their account for the first time.
I've got a question from Kelly Silverton, and this is more of a logistics. How do we share the parent codes? There is a template in the starter pack that you got when you started with Bedrock, which is a useful letter template that you can insert the access code. I know a number of schools will text it out to parents. And again, I talked about tutors perhaps when they're calling parents to have it in front of them to share. Okay. 2 lessons a week. Would you now advise that we set points for weekly homework? As you said, Camilla, it's really kicking off after February.
Yeah, and I think you still can maintain the expectation of doing lessons regularly, and it's nothing to say don't tell them to do 2 lessons a week, because if they do their 2 lessons a week, they're easily going to get to the 20 points. But it's just opening up scope for more praising when they do pre-test, post-test. When they transition to the next topic, they'll have to do tests back to back essentially before they move on to a lesson. So it's accounting for praising students when they're in those situations, and also they'll be logging on to do their Bedrock that you've set them that week, but they might be greeted with a memory check quiz before they can do their lesson. So there's just accounting for all the kinds of activities they'll be doing when they do log on to do those expected lessons a week. So you can still maintain that expectation with them, but it just means that when they come across these other activities, you can still praise them, encourage them, and if necessary, intervene as well. But obviously, I know a lot of schools use points, house points, as a way of rewarding. So it just means it'll probably make your lives a lot easier to translate that data into your rewarding systems by using the engagement analysis report. All the points are already totaled up for you, depending on what date range you put in. So it will just make things really seamless for when you come to allocate points in your school praising policies anyways.
Yeah, the expectation is still pretty much the same, with one lesson being 10 points, and then if each week 20 points. Questions about impact report. I have to say, all of the positive comments throughout, it's really, really encouraging from you all. In terms of the impact report, they are done on a cycle, aren't they, Camilla?
Yeah, so typically it's once a year. We can obviously make them whenever you need them. So if you have meetings with governors, Ofsted visits, or just reporting back to your SLT, we can produce them for you when you need. But otherwise, we look to do it on a more once a year basis, and that typically would be about 9 months into your subscription. The key thing with the impact analysis is obviously it looks at progress across the whole cohort, and then it will break it down across year groups and then different categories such as pupil premium, SEN, etc. So there is a level of wanting to give the students some time to complete topics to generate progress data. So it's something that you want to give a little bit of time before looking at the full impact analysis report. But through your dashboard, you can look at the attainment on a more regular basis. If students are completing topics, say on a monthly basis, you can always dive in and see what that is looking like as often as you need to.
Just looking through the questions and chat, it looks like a lot of them have been responded to by James Penny and Aaron. He snuck in on the webinar there. So any that haven't been addressed, we will be making sure that they are addressed via email, along with all of you receiving the resources we went through today, the PowerPoint, the recording of this, and a poster of the 13 ways to motivate students on Bedrock. I really hope that it has been insightful. and you all have a lovely evening. Is there anything you'd like to add, Camilla?
I mean, just thank you for everyone's time. I really appreciate it, and I know it's been a bit of a chaotic week and a bit back this term, so I hope everyone has adapted to whether that be remote learning, remote working, and just that we are always here to support you. If you feel like anyone needs refresher training, anything like that, we can do that as often as you need, so please do let us know. And I hope the explanation of the points logic has been clear, but obviously any questions, do let us know. And as I said, it will kick off from February half term, so in this term, don't worry too much about any confusion. From February half term is when it will come into full effect,
and hopefully it'll make your lives a little bit easier if possible. Okay, thank you.
Thanks everyone.